As is the usual tradition, I gotta take a look and see whether or not Twitch is gonna give me quality options right on the first try. Excellent. Good for you, Twitch. So we're back to Age of Wonders Planetfall tonight. I'm not as late as I've sometimes been, but not exactly 7 sharp, which is what I was aiming for tonight. And it's actually because I got a book. And I've actually been getting quite a few books lately, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I am, however, going to... What in God's name is going on here? For some reason, it says that I am currently using 80% of my memory. I had that problem before. We're not... Unless it gets in the way of the stream, though, I'm just going to push ahead. So I don't have the game up right away. I wanted to make sure that I had the quality options before I went too deep. But yeah, I am going to take... So I got a little indulgent last week, and I wasn't very articulate about it. So this will be a little bit of a sequel to what I talked about on Friday. But I am going to try and keep this in the 10-minute area. So I do notice a few of you like Age of Wonders Planetfall on YouTube. Thank you for supporting that. But if you don't like hearing me rant or ramble or otherwise babble a bit for the first little while, skip to the 10-minute mark. We should be good to go. But I come to you belatedly today because I picked up a book. So I used to let orders come directly to the apartment, and then there was that. So there was the problem with Amazon, which was Amazon's problem. But on top of that, a couple of weeks later, an expensive book that I ordered was supposedly delivered to my apartment, and no sign of it. And kind of Canada Post's view of it was it's quote-unquote lost, which I think is the non-inflammatory way of saying that somebody else took it. I find that fairly incredible because there are quite a few deliveries that go to the common area. And I actually had been to that area on the Friday that it was supposedly delivered. No sign of a package there. So I think it's the delivery. I think it's the post office that screwed up. But one way or the other, that didn't turn out. And of course, because I was going through hell over the camera, which, by the way, Amazon charged me for the case after giving me a replacement one. So I was debating about getting a Prime subscription. No, not. I'm doing everything I can to disentangle myself from Amazon. I'm going to keep my options open for the foreseeable future, pretty much with everything. But let's not go down that path again, because I think I get really upset thinking about that. But just because at this point I'm kind of like, there's the warehouse problem, and that's, there's nothing that can really be done about that. The mail delivery problem is something that's within my control, and so I've made it so that when I can, I have it delivered to a location so that I can pick it up. Hello, Angry Cat. You cannot hear anything. And it's huge. Thank you. Let me just type something to Angry... Can anybody else hear anything? Anyways, I was actually about to talk about the book. But yeah, long story short, I'm getting things delivered, and while it's probably not the best thing in the world when I'm, obviously you want to sort of minimize potential contacts and whatnot, because I walk everywhere, so this is the bookstore that it got delivered to is like downtown, so it's about an hour. Okay. Sorry, I'm just dealing with trying to help out Angry Cat 365 with the fact that I can't seem to hear it. Oh, headphones were an issue. Excellent. Okay. But yeah. So, anyways, it's probably about. So Apple Maps says it's a 50-minute walk. It's probably more like half an hour, maybe 45. I guess it depends how I go. But anyways, needless to say, it's especially because I work a little bit late. It's a longish walk. But in this case, I got in touch with one of my old classics professors, and it's for a project that I'm not really ready to talk about yet. But just because, if it doesn't turn out, it's one of these things that I think will disappoint more people about it not happening than will entertain people by me saying what it is. But we were talking a little bit, and this is a source I've read before, but in fragments, and more so in sort of a scholarly context, and so the parts of this that make it really amusing are gone. And yeah, I apologize. I'm like 5 minutes in, and now I'm actually getting to the point of this story. But this book that I ordered is called Lives of Eminent Philosophers by an author named Diogenes Laertius. And so to a certain extent, this is almost kind of like somebody's, this is the wrong way of saying it, but like it's almost like somebody's school notes. So imagine that for whatever reason, your notes in college were the thing that we, thousands of years from now, it was the only record that we had of the things that you were studying. It's kind of like that. So Diogenes Laertius put together this collection of sort of his understanding of philosophers and their some biographical information about them. And at the risk of oversimplifying, there's kind of like two halves to each detail about a philosopher in this book. There is the account of the philosophy, and like because things like the Library of Alexandria burned down, and just over time, not every document that we thought was important at a certain point of history necessarily survived to a point where it was transmitted to us. Diogenes Laertius is one of these examples of someone who talked about philosophers without necessarily trying to interpret or correct them, and so has become sort of a source for a lot of otherwise lost texts. Oddly enough, another example of where we get information about philosophers ancient philosophers is from the people criticizing them. So there's a lot of church fathers who, there's like against the mathematicians, and you'll find out, here's see what these jackasses think, and this is this is actually wound up preserving the work down to us. So in one part, you've got his account of what these philosophers thought, but the other part is the biographical information, and some of it so clearly is not true, but you'll get these really entertaining stories, and to a certain extent there's humor in it. You'll have these philosophers that have a tremendous toothache to a point that they kill themselves rather than dealing with the toothache. Which probably isn't all that funny on its own. I'm thinking particularly maybe Diogenes the Cynic are the one where some of the more funny stories are. But like, there's a lot of that in there. Anyways, in 2018 there was this new translation, and there's this wonderful hardcover edition that they've put out, which has a bunch of sort of images. So the front of the book is the famous School of Athens painting. On the inside, you have lots of busts or different artistic representations of these thinkers over time. And so I do have large parts of that book in my library already, because I have sort of a reader for Hellenistic philosophy. And obviously, if again, it's a major source for this material. So there's going to be large fragments of Diogenes Laertius that's in that particular text, but I don't have the work itself. And the only real translation I was aware of is this translation in the Loeb Classic Library. You might have seen it. So like if you've ever been in a university library and you've gone by the classic section, as one does, there's like these little green and little red books. I think they're like published by Harvard or something like that. Anyways, they're not terribly, like, they're not terrible for scholarly versions, but they're not always the most exciting to read. This translation actually seems pretty good. Like, it seems enjoyable to read in addition to being a very beautiful book. So that is why I am late. And I was actually going to talk a little bit about read. I know I've been talking about reading a bit more, and it's just because it's a really good habit that I've sort of developed over time. And I've noticed that the more I talk about it, what's the right way for me to put it? The more excited I get about it. And as a result, I'm feeling, I don't think I'm the one. Oh, I am building a base here. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. The fact that it generates excitement for me has really kind of encouraged me to keep on it. So, okay, enough filibustering. So we are in a little bit of a tight spot. So we got pulled into a war, which I'd prefer not to deal with, to be honest. But it is what it is. We shouldn't have too much of a problem taking these guys on, but it would be better if I can get... I think I had another army on the way. Yes. If I can get another 6 stack in here, then I'm going to feel a little more comfortable with my position. Right, then there's also Sappho's agents. So we've got Goliath extractions. Oh no, Goliath extractions I believe is the terraforming. So that one I can afford to wait on a little bit. But one of Sappho's... Oh no, okay, that's right. We got Calliope. We're looking for Dido, which is over here. Okay. So yeah, actually, as it turns out, we need to take this area out. And then I'm a little worried that I might wind up resetting this playthrough because I built this colonizer. But unfortunately, all the areas where I want to put it down are apparently neighboring cities. And so where originally I wanted to try and claim Keeper's Summit for myself, we can't. So Sappho has a base here beside Keeper's Summit. Apparently I can't put it down in Black Mesa Caldera. Because it's beside a city, so that would either be Frozen Fields or wherever this is. This definitely looks like a city here, so I'm thinking that might be it. I can't put it on Goliath Extractors because that's already occupied. I can't put it here because of Yelendil. And then, of course, Isnara is already occupied. So this colonizer's kind of useless to me right now, unfortunately. Speaking of the only note surviving, imagine world-changing insights next to crude high school doodles. Oh man. So you know how like there was Pompeii, right? The city that was Vesuvius erupted and buried under ash.
Operations available for priming.
There's a lot of pornography that's preserved in that city. All right, I'm just going to leave this here for now. I really need to find a spot for it, but I'm clearly not going to find it right now. I actually don't think there's anything on this continent. I don't think there's any spot on this continent where I'm going to be able to put this colonizer down. So I think the land grab is going to be a matter of taking territory away from the Syndicate. Okay, these guys are staying put, as are these. So this is my little triangle of power if they want to try any funny business. It is going to be a little complicated with the Rogue Marauder army. I think we can handle it though. So I think we just move my units up in this area. Really, what I want to be careful about is just making sure that I can get as many of my units as possible to take on the city. Are they abandoning the city? Wow! I don't know what galaxy brain nonsense they're thinking of here, but... this is too good to pass up. Which makes me really worried. Like, I'm trying to figure out where the scam is. Okay, so if I do an auto combat, yeah, we don't lose anything. Okay, that won't do. We lost a unit there, so. Well, I'm pretty sure if they knew the volcano was coming, they probably would have done something about it. I think it's more the idea that because a sudden disaster struck, it's remarkably well preserved. I think actually, the Eyes of Sin was talking to me the other day about some of the bread that was preserved. Hang on. Okay, I was like, where's my third unit? So yeah, I don't see any reason why we should. I don't see any reason why we should be losing units off of this. Okay, dire penguins, go. So unfortunately, this is going to be ripe for a blinding arrow. I think at this point I'm going to catalog the vermicious canids. This is all just sort of prep for the next round. I'm trying to give them a few opportunities to do AoE effects on me as I can manage, while still being somewhat aggressive in my movement. So this is one of the big things that I can do to try and improve my overall position, is to make sure, like, give them threats from all sides. So I want to move these people up fairly aggressively, even if it means that I'm potentially exposed. So like here, I'm not in any kind of cover. But what it means is now these ranged units are going to have to decide what threat they deal with. And the more I can divide their attention, the better off I am. My other hope is that I'm going to be able to use the Biomancers to heal up some of my units before the battle's done. So I don't know. I don't think it's very credible for me to think that I'm going to be walking away with a healthier army than I started off with. But if we can keep from getting too smashed up, we'll be ready for... I'm assuming the Syndicate are going to counterattack. That's got to be the reason why they move their units back. Yeah, so I don't have much hope. So the reason I move them back here is just to avoid the AoE effects. Okay, now these guys are going to be a little bit of a challenge because they are threatened by the Xenoplague units. So I think what I'm going to do... I do want these guys in the fight, but I don't want them to be in melee range quite yet. If they can draw some fire as far as getting spit on, I'm okay with that. But sorry, just 1 second. Okay. Let's see what the retaliation is. So again, no surprises there. We knew the stagger was coming. I probably could have done more to protect from it, but okay, so the penguins are getting the worst of it.
Operations ready.
This is actually a pretty smart. This is a pretty smart approach on the part of the AI. So what I think I'm going to do here, I'm going to start with the mend. So it's a small chance, but again, I don't want to put these guys in too much risk. Okay. So now what I'm going to be doing is dedicating as many units as I can to war. Actually, you know what? This guy's pretty well protected, so let's reconsider. Not my favorite move, but ouch. Okay, so these guys are going to get hit with the flanks.
Enemy destroyed.
It's probably better for me to clean up the bad guys. So sadly, no way for me to mop him up. So the reason that was pretty smart of the AI is that they've completely committed to one of the sides of the fight. I might actually have to redo this for the I think I'll do protective. Cleansing light gives me. I should have done that ahead of time because that would have removed the blinding. It's too late to do anything about that now, though. But yeah, so the reason it was smart of the AI, they've completely committed on one side of this fight, and so all of my other units have basically been tied up on getting close to them. Okay, well, this is a start. I'm going to move these guys around the edge here just so that I can get a better view on the Xenoplague unit. Biomancer still can't catalog anyone. And we'll run these folks up the middle because if they stay put, then we're going to finally be able to take them out. Alright, let's see. Again, we'll see what their reply is. So this isn't a surprise. That's a good flank for them. Oh, Christ. I'm probably going to lose that unit.
Unit destroyed.
Sorry. Any other unit, I'd consider it, but I can't afford to lose the penguins. I know this is really off topic, but I'm very curious if you played Death Stranding and what you thought of its world. I've not played Death Stranding. So I have neither an opinion on it or its world. I'm sorry to give such a disappointing answer to that question, but This is just begging for a... It's a start. So this is still probably going to provoke this is probably going to provoke a blinding arrow. So I'm going to try something a little different this time around. So this guy's not going to be in cover, but it's also not going to attract the it's not going to attract the attention that the AI gave us. So again, we don't have high expectations, but I might as well take the chance. Okay, and then it's my leader, so at this point, I'm really just trying to close the distance as much as possible. I say as much as possible, like, I should be a little more careful about that, without putting them into too much danger. So obviously there's a little extra room that I can get by doing, like a move that doesn't give me defensive position at the end. But I don't necessarily want to completely compromise my, my group. I am, however, going to move this one up a little more aggressively just because I don't see any credible situation where they go specifically after this Lancer. So at this point, it's just a matter of making sure that I don't get hit by a blind, which is pretty unlikely for this group, but I want to allow for the possibility. Right, so ideally here I won't need to use tactical operations, but we'll see where it goes. So that's not a huge surprise. Oh, actually, that's really clever. So they knock him back, and now they can blind here. But looks like we didn't get blinded. Wow! I was blind on that one. Well, sorry, as a player, not as a... I am, however, going to wind up doing the same move with these archers.
Operations available.
So, mend. I think we'll just stand and deliver on these guys. So at this point, I'm just kind of accepting whatever damage I can do. This is why I'm kind of avoiding this side of the map right now, just so that I can make some educated choices about where to move the remainder of my forces when the once I've done whatever damage I can out here. One big question for me right now is, do I want to go for the full... You know what? I am going to go for the full move because this is a hero. So this puts them in a little bit of risk because they're not able to do a defensive maneuver, but it is going to draw their attention off of this weak part in my line. Unfortunately, I do need to keep a closer eye on area of effect. I'm gonna mute my phone. I know what the Senate just did. Thank you. I want to play video games. I'm probably being a little too conservative with these units. It strikes me... I really probably should be getting these guys into the fight as quickly as possible. That is upsetting. Alright. In both cases, I'm going to wind up standing beside my leader, so...
Enemy killed.
Alright. There's a couple of versions that I like of this. There's one where I attack here and I do a lot of damage to this unit while simultaneously, like basically I wind up locking these two into a position with a unit that's disposable. This one I do a ridiculous amount of damage to a ranged unit. Yeah, you know what? So this is less about being able to do the damage to this unit here so much as just giving a threat that both of these guys are going to be sitting beside. I think, anyway. Nope, turns out there's no Overwatch. That was a bad choice. So again, I'm not worried about this unit because it's a leader, and it's actually also a leader with a heal. Not that it'll matter. Wow. I'm gonna lose that unit again.
Unit down.
Why am I struggling with this fight? Sorry to keep resetting it, but I don't think I'm quite ready for my first fight of the evening to leave me down commander and an archer unit. Okay, so a couple problems that we ran into last time. I clearly left myself open to an area of effect attack. Last Ember. This game looks pretty cool. Is it similar to XCOM? Very good question, which I will answer once the alert has finished playing. So I think this time I kind of have to be a bit more conservative on this side and keep an... So the tactical battles are definitely like XCOM, but I would say that this is the second part. So the better way for me to... Oh, by the way, thank you for 5 months of subscriptions. I tremendously appreciate them. I would actually argue that this game is kind of like reverse XCOM. So what I mean by that is XCOM, the tactical battles are what really drives that game, right? When you think of XCOM, when you think of XCOM 2, even when you think of Chimera Squad, you are thinking about the turn-based battles that take place on the kind of the checkerboard, and you know that there's a strategic layer where you're going to be getting different technology and you're going to be upgrading your troops and all of that, but essentially you play XCOM so you can play those battles. Age of Wonders, and Age of Wonders Planetfall in particular, is kind of like that, but in reverse. So the strategic layer of the game is what you... That's kind of your that's the main engine. So if you like Civilization, if you like Endless Legend, if you like Endless Space, that kind of 4X world map sort of level is what's really driving this game. However, unlike those games, Age of Wonders, Planetfall, and the rest of the Age of Wonders series, so the other 3 Age of Wonders games, Age of Wonders 1 through 3, take place in a fantasy setting. But in this particular case, when you go to battle, you can have up to 7 hexes involved. So the hex that you're attacking and then the surrounding 6. And you can have 6 units in each hex. So basically you can have up to 42 units plus whatever you summon. And when you resolve the battles, it'll be resolved in this kind of a window. So again, I think the main force in this game is the strategic layer. But I think the tactical level is pretty fun. The weird comparison, and like I feel a little, so this is kind of like when people ask me about Cultist Simulator and I say, what do you think, like what's the best comparison to it? Honestly, I think the best comparison for Cultist Simulator is The Sims, but that is a comparison that is really hard. Like you have to play both games to get it. And so it's not really good for answering the question that I think people really want to know, which is, will I like this game? And so oddly enough, in this game, I think the best comparison I have would be the Total War series, because I think Total War has this similar division where you've got sort of the strategic map, and then there's quite a bit of attention that is paid to the armies. So, you know, you don't play a Total War game so that you can build really good structures. You build it so that you can conquer your enemies. And then, you know, if you want to avoid the tactical battles, sure, you can use the auto resolve, which I use rather liberally in this game, if I'm completely honest. But it's like the focus is very military oriented. Now the thing is that I think Total War actually falls on the wrong side of this division. So I think Age of Wonders Planetfall does a really good job of managing the strategic layer and making it interesting, and the tactical battles are just another really interesting way that you achieve your goals. Whereas Total War, I sometimes feel like the game is a little confused about what it wants to be. I don't think the strategic map is necessarily interesting enough to sort of maintain its own game, and yet it demands a lot of attention from you, and it's really easy to screw up your playthrough. But yeah, oddly enough, I think the better analogy would be Total War, but Total War obviously in the tactical level is a real-time strategy game, whereas this is a turn-based strategy game. So either whether you want to look at it through that lens, whether you want to call it reverse XCOM, or you know what other variation you would want, it's good is basically my best summary of what the game is. You played XCOM for the moments where an excited doctor put Xenos in the torture chamber. Are you talking about Dr. Valen, or are you just talking about the interrogations in general? So I'm actually going to hold the penguins in reserve here because I think we're going to give them enough to want to come to us. Wow, I really didn't want them looking that way, actually. We'll see if the AI capitalizes on it. So this is kind of interesting. I think what I should do off of this, it generally looks like they just accomplished a lot less. Wow, these guys hit like
Operations
trucks.
ready.
Can't afford to have people out of the fight, sadly, so. Now, I could, however, get a cheeky blind in. Okay, so unfortunately we didn't blind this guy. Oof! I really needed a lot more than I got out of that. Okay, so let's punch the whatever. Punch this guy. That's a pity. I'll feel better if I get in closer. That's still a 50% chance. That would have been better with the 3. Okay, let's see what my folks over here can do. So ideally I get them as close to this side of the map as I can. Looks like that's not going to be happening though. So this is the hero. I can sort of afford to have them out in the open. So again, the reason I'm doing all of these moves is to make sure that I'm not caught out in an area of effect attack. Doesn't look like this unit's going to be doing too much. I'm clearly going to need some help with the javelin over here, though, so. And it seems to me that... So I could have got a little extra damage if I did this at the start, but I'm going to do scan catalog on the 2 huntresses, just because they're the most numerous out of the things I haven't scanned yet. And it's a little risky, but this unit's nowhere near the fight, so I need to get them in. Alright, so I have some decisions to make. Well, let's do our best.
Enemy down.
Well, it's a start. So I can potentially wipe out the Amazon here. Yeah, okay, so this is going to be a little scary because the this unit's going to have free reign. They're going to be able to flank pretty much anyone they want. But we are able to take a piece off the board, which is really valuable. I'm pretty sure this unit is not able to take out something on its own.
Enemy down.
Okay, so again, we'll see what the reply is. She sort of appeared in the DLC, I guess. But yeah, you're right. She didn't have a starring role, let's say. Okay, got a little lucky there. Okay, so what I want to do in this case is minimize the number of high-value units that are getting tied up with some of these attacks. So again, a little chip damage on this guy. It's pretty clear that I need to heal up. So, first things first, I want to try and deal with any Overwatch that I deal with. Now, again, it would be nice if I could do the defensive regeneration and what. Oh, actually, now that I think of it, That was much
Enemy
smarter.
eliminated.
So what I get to do now is I get to do defensive modes, and that's an extra 12 health that unit's going to get. Now I can peck the Huntress with the Dire Penguins. Please enjoy.
Enemy destroyed.
And now it's cleanup. In fact, it might wind up being... Okay, this is going to be corny as hell. Oh, damn it. I don't think I can pull it off. Let's see if I can stagger. Beautiful. Okay, so in order to get the extra heal, I'm going to do 1 blind. 2 blinds. Okay, so this unit's completely immobilized for the next turn. So instead of doing the coup de grace, what I do is I get everyone in position. We just park the units. I mean, I guess I could have also done a sleep, but there's really no need to do that. So this is purely about getting this 12 health out of the heal. So again, nothing else threatens my units here. I don't need to use any tactical operations or that. I just, you know, sit, twiddle my thumbs while this unit can't do anything, and I get some free health just for using my ability.
Our forces are victorious.
All right, glad. Only took us 1 shot, right?
Objective completed.
All right. Database updated. Pests have been fumigated. Rewards have been prepared for entity Mahina Wateka. Carbon relations increased. All right. These guys mean business. Yeah, this is a fairly strong army that I'm going to have a hard... I'm actually going to have a hard time defending. Imagine training most of your life as a warrior just to be ravaged by a penguin in the middle of a savannah at that. It's one of the reasons why I really like Age of Wonders Planetfall. So we'll see whether or not I'm actually able to defend this. Overall, it is October 26. I'm not entirely sure that this is any worse of a position than I was in before. So it is true that there was a smaller force defending this area. There's maybe one small consideration I would make. I want to put something a little bit more. I want to put something a little bit more angry on the main tile. So we're going to absorb that. So yeah, basically the idea here is that I am going to... So they've got some extra units than they had before when I was going to attack this territory. But the benefit that I have is that I've got sort of my units generally at the same level of health they were at before. Now in a position where presumably they're going to be able to defend themselves a little more, I don't know, a little more forcefully. Obviously I don't want to deal with these marauders, so we're going to move back. Okay, that really sucks, because I thought I was the one claiming that. My ally is actually a liability at this point. So this is the thing. Sappho pulled me into a fight with these guys. They're not contributing anything to the fight. Now they want me to come in against Barhane. And they're taking my territory from me. Okay, I've got 2 turns, so I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait 1 just so I can Because, like, the thing is, I don't have any intelligence on where Bahane is. I know she is our main target. But if I'm going to be taking out the Syndicate, I kind of want to focus on one bad guy at a time. Lisipi Makante wants to join you. I pretty much always take heroes. I think I'm going to put them in command of this unit over here. So we've got 2, 3. I need to train 3 more units for this stack. I guess I can put them in charge of my Air Corps. So we will give them a Biomancer. Yeah, Biomancer and a pair of Shrikes. Alright, these guys got to get as close to a defensive position as possible. Even at the expense of not taking out Marauders. These guys are gonna stay put. Jakuku and Sappho signed a non-aggression pact.
Operations available for priming. Empire task completed.
I'm glad the Autonom are happy with me, but I don't have a whole lot of use for that right now. Okay, so we'll see whether or not we can survive the counterattack. I really need one more turn to be able to feel comfortable, and I suspect the AI is not going to be inclined to give that to me. So I will have to rely on my superior tactics. Oh yeah, they're totally going to attack this turn. Holy smokes! Why is their power so high? There's no militia either. I probably should have just settled for to raise the colony. This is going to be tough. Girl power. I'm sure I could have done that a little bit better, but... So I do somewhat question the wisdom of me letting them just come to me, but I do, like, I'm in a stronger position here, so it's not like I want to completely give away the store. I'll be honest with you, I really don't want to do this fight. I'm not quite sure what I was thinking. I was under the impression that I might have a militia to help out here. That doesn't seem to be the case. There is definitely a small argument for me to try and do a bunch of blinding shots in this area in here. I'm just not sure if I'm going to be able to get the archers to quite make the range that I need. I do think it's a good enough opportunity for me to try, though. I suppose the alternative is that I just stay. Okay, yeah, so they're all in Overwatch. Well, if that's the case, I think we're just gonna sit and wait for the fun to start. Although I don't think it would hurt for me to, yeah, we'll get a scan in on the most numerous unit. They're going to be getting into range next turn, so I think we bring up our ad right now. So this is definitely the weakest part of my defenses. That's why I moved the hero up. It's worth remembering I have a couple of heals on my Biomancers. Good God.
Unit lost.
I don't know how these units got so powerful. Yeah, like look at that. So these guys are basically with 2 units, something in heavy cover is getting wiped out. I can see why it told me they have so much strength, but I probably should have said at the start, I'm actually not 100% in the mood for a a difficult strategy game right now. So if I seemed really ready to reset my tactical map on the previous map, it's because I'm actually really not in a good headspace to handle this kind of stuff. This is a disaster. Like, I'll be honest, I actually really don't want to keep playing this right now. But maybe I'll at least do my best with like a best reply. But yeah, this is normally the sort of thing that I'd really love to like turn into the meat of a play session. But like I'm just like, it's a me thing. It's nothing to do with Planetfall. But I'm definitely not in the right frame of mind for this sort of thing. Wait, I lost both of the little guys? Ugh, okay. At this point, you know, it's kind of whatever. Oh, that's right, these guys come back.
Enemy killed.
Oh wait, these are prevented from dying because of the... I'll confirm this because, I mean, let's face it, we're not keeping this anyway. But yeah, these guys are always kept just one shy of dying. You know what? So I can't go from October 26th. I'm sorry to do this, guys. I'm just I'm not quite ready to handle. So yeah, I basically need to take this from turn 19. I gotta go. Basically, I gotta go back to the start of the stream. So I suppose the only redeeming move I can make would be... Well, actually, sorry, there's one small thing I can do. Move my units up a little more aggressively here. I guess really the only thing I can hope for is to bring in the reinforcements, and then I guess I just have to take the army out in the open field.
Operations available for priming.
So if I auto this... Yeah, no. Oh, that's right. This is the thing we took an hour to... Ooh, this is going to be hard. Okay, so these guys got to scurry over to my stronger people. Sorry to have to repeat all this. So whenever I click on these guys, I'm mostly just trying to find out what their sort of their running range is. Or not running range, like their melee range. So these guys can't get eaten. They can get spit on. But what I'm trying to do is make sure that the AI is not going to be able to... Basically, I want to make sure that they're not able to do anything too drastic in the next turn. If it takes them 2 turns, that's fine because I can prepare. But if I sort of hand them my army on a plate, that's kind of bad. So the ideal is that they start focusing on this lower area here. I don't think they're going to, but... So I specifically moved them here just because of the threat that's posed by this. Again, it's possible that they come in and do the bite on my hero, but I've got a really good aerial melee unit to sort of reply to that. I do, however, want to... Oh, wrong unit. So this unit I basically want to get up right in their face. Because this skirmish drone is actually pretty strong. It's like a 1 in a million shot. Well, a little lower than that if you pay attention to probability, but again, at this point, this is a little bit more about positioning rather than trying to accomplish the impossible. I'm a little curious. Okay, so basically I want to move her close enough that she's able to scan it, but not close enough that she is a credible target. Penguins are basically moved in a position to retaliate for when my hero gets attacked. Interesting. I mean, they are correctly identifying the weak spot, but I just don't see what stops me from running around the edge and punishing them for taking a...
Operations ready.
Yeah, so I just move my... I'm maybe not 100% sure what they're trying to accomplish doing this. So anyways, it'd be nice to tie up these melee units, but I get... I basically give them flanks on their ranged if I do that. So... instead, I'm gonna spread the love. I'm only gonna get one shot with these guys, so I might as well move in. Don't exactly want to serve these things up to the ranged units quite yet, so... This guy's gonna chow down on my little guys. Alright, I think I'm starting to get an idea of what they're trying to do with this positioning. So... this is putting this Huntress unit in a bit of risk. You know, whenever they do the blind on me, it seems to be a lot more effective. So I think this Biomancer is going to try and put this unit to sleep. That'll buy me a little extra time. I would have loved to use my hero to attack anything but this unit over here, but I gotta play the hand I've been dealt. Yeah, I know exactly what the next few turns look like. So I don't think I'm going to be able to take that piece off the board, sadly. But I'll do my best. So the plan here basically is to just try and anticipate what the AI is going to try and do and disrupt as much as possible. So I know I can't stop every unit from being able to do damage to me, but if I can stop enough units in a way that... so I'm going to get blinded by this one over here. But it's a small price to pay to be able to take out a
Enemy
ranged
destroyed.
unit. So basically the idea is going to be this. If I can kill this Lancer, I'll take it. It's almost certain I'm not going to be able to. So my next best is to get as many units as possible sort of in range. I am slightly curious. Yeah. It's the same story with the Biomancer. So this unit, the smartest thing they could do with their Huntress would be to put a blinding arrow right in the middle here. They'll probably go for a bite on either my hero or my Lancer, but that's not too big of a problem. Now, biggest contingency for me right now is to try and take the this this unit out of the equation. This is 2 turns where I don't need to worry about this guy. What this now lets me do is use the gunk shot to try and take out the Lancer. It's less than a coin toss, so...
Enemy
but it
down.
worked. Okay. So basically what they have on the shelf to deal with me now is a Parasite, a Huntress, and a Destroyer. So these are not, like, trivial. These are things that can still cause me some pain. The thing to keep in mind, though, is that I've got 2 Biomancers which haven't used their heals yet. And then the way that I've positioned my unit, the clustering is not actually... It's one of the few times that the clustering is not a mistake. It's actually trying to stop them from using this Huntress to do damage to me. So we'll see whether or not it actually happens. No, they went for the damage. Ooh, that was actually really... That was quite a bit of damage. Alright, so I had some plans about how I was gonna do my heals. Now I need to reevaluate them. So, first things first. I gotta try and stagger this guy. Good start.
Enemy down.
So obviously taking out the Huntress is the first priority because this Destroyer is going to be out of commission for another turn. Fortunately, this is fairly easy, seeing as we have a melee unit ready to cause him some grief. At this point, I think I'd rather use the laser repeater on the Shrike.
Enemy destroyed.
Alright, now we're going to try and get rid of the pustules. So, again, start with the stagger because this guy does have a melee overwatch.
Enemy annihilated.
And then this is a fairly important question that I need to ask now. Do I want to try and risk the retaliation of the Destroyer, given that I don't have a full... I don't have a full army to damage it. In this case, I think I will, partly because I'm impatient, but mechanically it would probably be better for me to wait. And this is just because I could sort of attack them with a full strength army afterwards. On the other hand, like, it's an army versus... It's part of an army versus one unit, so... It's not the end of the world.
Objective completed.
But yeah, so we're kind of in the same problem. We have the same problem, though, which is the AI... Actually, what I'm going to do... Again, I'm completely playing this game like a scumbag. I'm partly just seeing whether or not the AI is going to do anything about my movement. So, like, there's nothing stopping them from doing the same. Yeah, you know, they're almost certainly going to attack me. So... the real question now is, am I able to move my people to safety? Probably not. It's actually entirely debatable too as to whether or not I'm going to be able to get these people. So what they may wind up doing is just taking the stack and defending Ezinra. I'm not crazy about this choice, but let's see where we're at. So grounding harness in this case, I want on just about everyone. So we know that they're going to be coming after us with arc weapons. Being able to prepare along those lines will help me out. So the Shrike doesn't get the grounding harness because it's in the air. I guess the same could be said for the Lightbringer. Let's leave that be. Winter's Bane 007, thank you very much for the follow. I'm not feeling like God's gift to Age of Wonders Planetfall right now, but I appreciate you showing that support. Okay, we'll put the Biomancer in, and we'll leave the rest for the time being.
Operations available for priming.
Okay, let's say... yeah, so again, this colonizer is kind of useless. This unit's got to stay put. No problem. And we're starting this game, or have I played this for a bit? I mean, I've had and played Age of Wonders Planetfall since release, but on and off. And I'll admit, I'm not feeling 100% in the mood for for strategy. So I've been, I've definitely been reload. I mean, I reload quite a bit anyway.
Empire task completed.
But today's been a particularly bad one for me, being a bit of a scumbag. I've not completed the campaign though, so this is my first time doing this particular mission in the campaign. I was kind of hoping they would start a fight, just because those two units aren't in a position to be able to take me on. So one challenge I have is that my army's not going to get any stronger. Whereas because now they have their home territory, they're going to be able to build more units to clobber me with. And again, my allies are nowhere to be found, despite dragging me into this conflict. So... save me, Callisto. Just have to deal with the syndicate missions and the assembly, and then you're on to the final planet. It's very hard. You have to use your brain. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I like about the game, obviously. But there's two things that I think I would really benefit from in this game, which is a proper undo button, because more than a few times I felt like I had a fairly clear idea of what I wanted to do and what I thought was possible. And there have definitely been some times where, having committed myself to a path of action, it turns out that I was under a misapprehension. And while I can understand that there is some virtue in saying, look, you know, actions have consequences, live with them. It's translated into frustration sometimes for me. But the game, I think, hits quite a bit more than it misses. This mission, though, definitely... I think the thing that's annoying me the most about this mission, though, is that I had a fairly clear idea about when I wanted to engage the Syndicate. And Sappho, in addition to, like, taking up all of this territory, pulls me into a fight with the Syndicate, which, fair enough, right? You know, I've now got an ally to help out. But, like... They got 7 units worth just sitting defending territory, which they've taken away from me. I really don't feel like my ally is much of an ally on this one. So it's been a bit of a character building.
In conclusion, knowledge is power, but being well educated has an additional benefit. No one can call you stupid. Especially if you've researched weaponry that could vaporize them if they did. Dr. Millicent Rickles, head researcher, Lazulite Incorporated.
Okay, I think it's pretty clear that Cosmite's gonna be my weak spot. So as much as I wanted to put some investment into other factors, again, just the my ally ninja Keeper Summit from me effectively, so there's no way I'm going to be able to get the Cosmite from there. We're not going to be able to take advantage of Penultimate Resting Tomb Alpha for the time being. I'm going to have to rely on my infrastructure to get me the Cosmite that I need. Do I have another turn on this? No.
Operations available for priming.
There's a side of me that thinks I should probably just move this unit in to reinforce. Yeah, I've always been really reluctant to kind of game the rules too much. I don't know. Every strategy game kind of winds up being a role-playing game for me, just because I don't like doing stuff that I think is inconsistent with the way a faction plays. But it definitely stops me from being able to get the most out of it. Like, this is so upsetting here, to see 8 units effectively just expanding their borders while they're, you know, while I'm desperately trying to hold on against this.
Production ready.
Anyways, let's see what this is the campaign, Storm Troll Jack. Let's see what the AI does. Alright, I will admit I'm not 100% sure what that ability... They've used it multiple times now. But this might be an opportunity for me, because if I move in like this... Oh, it just hides them. Okay. I probably could have planned that a little bit better, but... I'm just trying to make sure that everyone doesn't participate in this fight, actually. So yeah, I was thinking what I could do would be... Actually, you know what? That strategy still sort of would have worked. Basically, this whole group gets taken out of the fight if I make a move on them. Like, if I make a move on this stack, this group, this group, this group, and then the militia take part. But this extra 6 in the back don't. And that's probably the difference between me winning or not. I really should have, I probably should have committed to that. That's fine. We're pretty much at experimentation mode, so...
Operations available for priming.
Let's see what they do. If we just kind of wind up staring each other down, I suppose there are worse outcomes.
Let the light bringers burn brightly. Send a gleam across the bay, that the poor struggling souls adrift in the dark torrents may guide their vessels safely ashore. Lucala Candeleri, guardian of photons.
Okay. Before I pick on this, so one of the things I was waiting on was to see what kind of forces we're up against. We still don't know exactly what kind of units Berhane's bringing along, but we do know what we're up against for the Syndicate. So these guys went heavy on Arc. They've got psionic resistance, but I don't think they have any particular weaknesses, which either implies I should be going for status effects or... I kind of take my pick. If you guys can just give me a second here. I'm sorry to run away from the keys, but I have something... I need to deal with something really quickly. I won't put up like the sign or anything like that. I just need to... I need to step away from the keyboard for a second. Alright, sorry about that. I was trying to be a little more organized when I started, but I'm failing. Okay, I can't really move my... I'm gonna call this mistake question mark again. Okay, yeah, so... Oh, Christ almighty. Yeah, so I did make the... That was a mistake last time, because now they've got... it's a 666 versus 666, plus they get the militia. But, let's see how it goes. Not particularly Storm Trolljack. So I suppose... So normally when I've done an attack like that, I mean the virtue is that they don't have any turrets, but to be honest, if I was going to be doing an attack like this, doing it the previous turn would have been a hell of a lot better. Seeing as they would not have had a full army yet. So these guys... So usually when I go after a fortress, so normally focusing on one of the sides has been about minimizing the number of turrets that come after me. I still think this is probably the right approach, though. This side is appealing for a couple of reasons. Number one, it lets me try and take out the hero really early. Number two, they don't have a lot of specialized units over here. So the thing that really is going to keep me up at night are these guys who can sort of render their allies... Or is it these guys? Cerebral... Yes, Cerebral Override. So the unit can't be reduced below 1 HP for a turn. That's the one that is a real pain to deal with. So, I mean, the fact of the matter is it's not that hard for them to move into position. But basically, if I can thin out the herd a little bit and maybe even, you know, at least be on the same level as them, that's slightly better. But I don't know, we'll see. I'm not feeling confident, suffice to say. I suspect I'll probably just have to do another reload. And again, I definitely feel like the blind is a lot more effective when the AI does it against me, but that's very much a player psychology thing. That is, I'm pretty sure they are not assigning bad RNG to me. This is probably a risky spot to be taking my Shrike. I actually think... So I think there's going to... No, hang on, because these guys aren't going to have Overwatch because of being staggered. It would have been better for me to use this Biomancer to scan the infantry, but I wasn't really thinking. There may be a small argument for me to try and drop a blind on the rest of these guys. I feel like that's too good of a... You know what, I think I'm going to go for the chip damage. Turns out that one was worth it. This guy I'm definitely going to run in early. So of course the drawback is that this unit's probably going to get it in the throat from everybody else. So much for the plot of focusing on this end. Alright, and before I make any more questionable decisions, let's see. Yes, I can scan... It's obviously something I should have done a lot earlier, but better late than never. I'm slightly less nervous about clustering these units than I am against the Amazon. But I think in this case here, I do need to start focusing a little bit more on this side. This is going to be a bit of a nightmare to try and organize, but let's see how it turns out. Again, I think there's something very liberating about knowing that I'm really not... I don't know what the right way to put it is. Like, I've hit this point now where I sort of accept that I'm just going to be bad. And that is remarkably freeing, because what it means is I just get to see how a bunch of stuff works. It's actually been... I don't think I've gone up against the Syndicate in any meaningful way since... We didn't really have to fight them in the Invasions deals. I mean, like, there's someone you can go up against, but we never really had to fight them in the Invasions scenario. I guess they appeared somewhere in the Vanguard one, but I don't really remember. Yeah, so I mean, I know about these guys. I know the pain that they can cause. I know that these guys are a bit of a nuisance as well. But yeah, I guess it's really been... We haven't really had to deal with these units since the Vanguard campaign, so... So I think the revitalization is you can only do that once. I should double check though. That's a real pain with those guys if they're immobilized. I'm okay with them being a distraction for the fire, but I was kind of hoping that they'd be able to jump in and do some damage. No such luck.
Unit destroyed.
Although I suppose I should be happy that the bolas didn't hit the commander. So the real trick on this one is that this commander works well in the front line, but I need to be a little careful that I don't treat them as being immortal. Like I want to get them right up to the edge of them being taken out without letting them fall over the edge.
Operations available.
All right. So again, our focus has got to be on this end. I do need to consider my Biomancer. I think there is some virtue in sending out amends to people. That is upsetting that they're not able to do more. Okay, so I'm going to move him in the middle here. And it's going to be specifically an attack on this guy to kill the Overwatch. We did not kill the Overwatch. We gave them a perfect reply. Oh boy. Alright, so the Shrike... I'm trying to decide who I hate more.
Enemy destroyed.
So I moved this unit up hoping that they'd be able to do sort of an Overwatch attack on the ranged unit if it came down to it, but turns out my soldiers were a little too good at their job. So I suppose the question is, do I want to try and deal with the enforcers, or do I want to try... I think the ranged units are a little more fearsome to me right now. With the possible exception of... Oh, right, we don't have the... So I gotta remember that I have multiple moves. That's a shame. That's not enough to seal the deal. Okay, I'm mad I have to do this, but I really want to make sure that they're taken out. So part of this is just trying to clear out as much as I can so that I can make the most of my blinding arrows. Actually, I'm slightly curious if they can go over the... No. Damn. Alright. This is not exactly the move I wanted to make, but... Oh wow, I really misjudged this. Okay. Feel like that move was probably more about doing something rather than nothing. I'm not entirely sure that was the move I should have made. Especially because apparently I could have taken them out with my commander. I could throw a grenade and set everybody on fire. The question is whether or not that is the appropriate move. Well, I mean, I guess if it's area of effect and it sets them on fire, I'd be maximizing the amount of damage per turn that does. I also really don't want to be focusing on the runner because they're just going to come back after I kill them. I also think it's not very realistic for me to think that I'm going to have another chance to blind people. So yeah, let's see what happens here. There aren't really any melee units for me to worry about. Oop, and I yet again misjudge my capabilities. Okay, let's try and I don't know, impose try and impose some kind of order on this. The biggest problem I have with all of these decisions is that I've lost any advantage that I had about sort of this side having to catch up with my guys, so now they're going to be able to take out my Enlightened unit. And a lot of this is really just a function of poor planning on my part. Essentially, I'm... really? This is what I was talking about with the undo button. I really thought I'd be able to get some range on that. Well. This is another good example. Like, these guys are blinded, so they're not exactly my highest priority as a target right now, but I'm not really able to do anything else. Do I go for the flank or the chip down? Yeah. I think it's better to just take stuff out. Yeah, so basically we're getting to this side too late. Too many of my units are out of position. I mean, these are all mistakes that I've made. I can't like blame the game for where I'm at with them, but I'm really at this point just getting a little bit more of an idea about what the syndicates like. So I guess the biggest advantage that I'm going to be able to get out of this right now, damn it. The biggest advantage I'm going to be able to get out of this right now is just a chance to sort of see how the AI kicks my ass. And then that'll inform the next reload where I have to make some more sensible decisions. Trying to decide if I'm at a point where I'm ready for a cleansing light. Pretty sure the penguin gets lost one way or the other. Thing is, I think I think if they want to pile on my commander, she's done for, so... Let's see how it turns out.
Unit lost.
So I'll admit, I wasn't exactly expecting that, but that's not exactly the worst thing that could have happened. I kind of already resigned myself to losing that unit. This is like a perfect example
Unit
of me
lost.
saying it's like, oh, I can move a unit, so therefore this is the best unit I can, or the best move I can make.
Be at peace.
I'll admit, these repeaters are doing a pretty good job of chewing through my heroes. I don't know if I'm just overestimating what the hero's capabilities should be, or if they started... I mean, it's possible they started off with a really good tech bonus, but I don't think that's where it came from. Also, I wasn't 100% sure, but it looked like the pulse attacks were bouncing. Yeah, so I mean, like, this is a really frightening spot to be in because I'm arriving in this part of the map too late. And then I've got basically 2 Biomancers and my reserves going up against a fairly formidable opponent. The one good bit of good news is I do still have some blinding arrows, but that's really not going to carry the day here. But with that in mind, really, I don't think that... Well, let's do our best.
Enemy destroyed.
Cool. So... yeah, let's go for it. Oh, hang on. No. They don't die.
Enemy killed.
At this point, I'm a little more focused on taking pieces off the board. It's not necessarily the strongest choice, but I'm trying to minimize the amount of outgoing damage at this point. I kind of need to make space for the Lancer. I don't think this will... well... I wasn't really going to be doing that much with that unit anyway. Kind of the fact that this guy regens has put him a little bit higher on my to-do list. All right, boss lady.
Enemy down.
Mostly worrying about people who can flank this Lancer. Although obviously I do get subsequent attacks. I think this is the right call. So again, I was talking about how worried I was about this side, so at this point we're not going to worry about trying to reinforce this side of the map. We're going to try and make a bit of a stand. So obviously the droid's not going to be effective. Oh, hang on. I didn't realize those guys could be blinded. Okay, this is gonna be... I guess I get away with doing it in the middle. I actually really want to entangle this guy, because if I entangle him, then everything on this side is all of a sudden protected. I think I'm gonna follow the same principle of just taking pieces off the board.
Enemy destroyed.
Now I could heal my... Yeah, this is a tricky one, so I can heal Calliope. I will, but I'm going to move the Biomancer to a slightly more protected position. Asleep probably wouldn't be misplaced as well, but Calliope's not going to last next turn if I don't do something. God, I don't know what to do with these guys. I can try and put something to sleep, but I don't think that's the right call. I could do second heal on her, but do the damage I can, I guess. Alright, I think this is going to be a mess in terms of the reply, but let's see what it looks like.
Enemy eliminated. Be at peace. Hero lost.
And I've already used up the heal on the other Biomancer. Not that I would have had the chance to do that. Yeah, so that's... I think that's a crossover point where we potentially lose this. It's not completely written off, but 2 heroes in the one turn is... That's a tough blow to absorb. Given the positions where everybody's at. But again, we'll do our best with what we've got. We do at least have some remorse down, which is nice. And the grounding harness isn't quite as effective as I was hoping it would be, but it's definitely stopping these moments where like it feels like my entire army gets wiped out on the one run. Now this is a really risky move here. Because it's entirely possible that I get one strike and then his best reply staggers me, but I don't really have much of an option here. Okay.
Enemy commander down.
More importantly, that takes out the regeneration that he gives. So now we charge in and try and do as much damage as possible to the people we hate. I guess the question is, who do I hate the most? So this guy's already used up his... So his Cerebral's not for 2 turns. He's already used his heal. That would have been... If I'd known it was a crit, that would have been... That unit would have been a better one to do it on. So I believe they're blinded. Just trying to think of the best target for some of this stuff. Alright, now I have the hard decisions to make. So I'm a little weirded out by the fact that if I move away... Okay. I was trying to figure out what the story was as far as why it didn't get like an Overwatch. There's a side of me that wants to say, let's just acknowledge the fact that this thing's going to be wrecking my guys in melee, and let's worry a little bit more about what's happening in the middle here. Alright, that's really fortunate that I got a blind on all of those guys. So maybe now I can afford to take out the melee unit. Okay, well, it seems to me we overwatch the... Or sorry, we sleep the unit I'm a little nervous about. It's not my favorite attack, but... it's annoying.
Enemy annihilated.
So obviously these guys are going to run in and pick off whoever they think is weakest. This really makes me sad.
Enemy
Oh,
destroyed.
good. Okay. So again, trying to match melee to the more dangerous ranged units that I can. I keep forgetting that she is able to deliver follow-ups. Now, I almost did something really stupid and attacked this unit, because it's just going to come back to life. So who do I think is a greater threat? Well, I mean, at this point, maybe I just want to maximize, see who I can do the most damage to. So even though my hero is going to be turning her back on these units over here, I think being able to get almost half the health. Also, I didn't realize I had this Biomancer hiding in the background. Now, if I want, I still have the Cleansing Light. The question is, who would I want to put it on? Possibly the Lancer. Actually, the Lancer can be doing a lot of good here right now. So against my better judgment, absurd. All right. Arborean might have been the better call for the shield. Or the heal, rather.
Enemy down.
Alright, well that's the Lancer working as intended. Okay, so clearly I need to deal with the fact that it's got a high impact or a massive bypass on its way. Yeah, so I need to decide which side of the map I want to deal with first. Look, these aren't great odds, but I got nothing else to use this Biomancer for, so... It was worth taking the shot. This is going to seem a little weird, but I actually want to move this unit closer into the fight before I try and take this unit out. I just need the one hit,
Enemy
really, so...
eliminated.
And I would have gone directly for this unit with this Lancer, but the fact that we can take this guy out is too... This is just too good of an opportunity.
Enemy annihilated.
Now, on the next side here, so I'm still going to use the Lancer to get this guy. So the plan here is basically to... So I'm going to try ignoring them for the rest of the turn and instead use my other units to, you know, take out these guys. Again, we'll get as close as we can. And the hope is here that that's going to free up my hero to be able to give a little bit of reinforcement on this side of the map.
Enemy eliminated.
Now I'm going to reserve the hero. Okay, this guy, I think they wake up. I don't know if it's the end of their next turn or at the start of the turn, so I should be prepared for them to cause me some grief. I will see if I have a heal.
Enemy down.
I do. Okay, so the Arborean gets a much needed boost. I mean, the chances aren't great. So I suppose the question is, who do I want to direct? Well, you know what? My hero should be able to... Yeah, so I think it's pretty clear what I'm going to use my hero for.
Enemy down.
So it's a low probability, but it's... it also potentially takes him out, so...
Enemy killed.
Cool. Fortunately, these guys already used their sleep, so they don't get to do a whole lot that's exciting, but... This side of the map suddenly feels a little bit more safe. Ah, yes, and my ever-forgotten special ability. So, I mean, for lack of any other attack to make, I might as well... You know, it's not great that I triggered the escape module, but it's not exactly like I hurt things either, so... Let's see what nightmares await us. I will admit, I thought... Oh wait, no, it doesn't have any limits. I also
Enemy
completely
killed.
forgot he still gets to take the shot. Okay, so it's rather important that I be able to wrap this up this turn, otherwise this guy dies to poison.
Enemy killed.
And at this point we're just kind of trying to rush everybody in as far as we can to be able to clear out the riffraff. I'm pretty sure my leader will be able to take out this unit. Ah, see, here's the problem. Okay. Just going to move them up. It's not enough to seal the deal, so what I want to try and do here is... Damn. I want to try and make it so that I can get the kill shot. Unfortunately, I don't think it's quite quite at that spot. Okay. This is the best shot I've got if it's going to... Ooh. Ugly. Well, let's try.
Enemy
Great.
killed.
Okay, so this gets me the extra hit. This is the part, I mean, it's weird to think of it this way. This is actually one of the things I do like about Planetfall, is that sometimes the tactical battles feel like a little bit of a puzzle. And as you can see, like when I'm on autopilot, like I was a little bit before, or not 100% there, a lot of it can seem sort of capricious, or, you know, it's like when you do figure out sort of an elegant approach to a battle, like, so if you're able to sort of say, hey, if I do this thing here, then that's going to get me an extra turn, it feels really good. Unfortunately, I have a very strong tendency to be an absolute moron. And so just as often I wind up, you know, I just wind up feeling like a clown. All right, that was a costly win. I suppose the question is, what, like, if we've severely crippled their if we've severely crippled their own army, then it's worth it, because we just sort of roll in and take out their major cities. I'm going to make some notes here. So, I lost basically all of my flyers. Interesting. Am I willing to lose a Biomancer off of that? Sure. All right. I suppose the real drawback here is that most of the units that I really needed, or sorry, most of the units that benefited me the most were in sort of like this army. Let's clip her. All right, I will admit I'm not 100% sure. Oh, this is okay. I was like, did I lose my two little larva guys? So yeah, I mean, it's not great, right? Because I just lost a lot of really good units, but so did the enemy. And again, depending on their ability to defend themselves, we might be able to sort of run in and capture a bunch more of their territory. So let's try and work with what we've got here, even if it's not the position I'd normally want to stick with. So I've got Ranger training. Hero trains their units in the art of forest stealth. All units in the stack gain forest camouflage. Only I mean, this is nice, but there's not a lot of forests around. Visual acuity is definitely one that I should consider. I think at this point, let's just go for it.
Operations available for priming.
Am I really building more than one Biomancer? Why? Probably because I wasn't thinking. Although, I guess at this point, it's a good replacement. So, one replacement Lightbringer, 2 Shrikes. And then we don't have the Cosmite for the Huntress, but we'll be able to put that in the stack too. Okay, actually that's not so bad after all. I'm going to be delaying the research, but small price to pay. Now I really need to think about what I want to put my time into. We definitely don't have as many animals anymore, so primal control is a lower priority. Syndicate, I don't really feel like they're heavy on the armor. So I still don't really have an answer in terms of what kind of... Well, yeah, okay, so maybe I've been thinking about this the wrong way. Maybe I don't want to say this is between biochemical and laser. This is more about what bonuses do I want to put on my biochemical, because obviously there's the ionic infusion and whatnot. It wouldn't hurt to have more operations. I just don't really think I have the budget for it right now. Earlier star guides wouldn't be terrible. I mean, especially because they're a healer unit. No, you know what? I need to... It's very clear that I've been falling behind. Oh.
Life is delicate, evolved over ages of perfected trial and error. One doesn't gain superpowers by adding an extra helix to the elegant double helix of DNA. It's lethal. No surprise that this weapon, originally an attempt to enhance life, is better suited for destroying it. Dr. Eva Montinga, Terratech researcher.
I think I've been thinking about mods the wrong way for this. So it's nice to get these extra units. I don't really need the Harrier. The Bombardon's going to take too long. Star Presence is nice, but I already have Biomancers. So at this point here, I really just got to think about what my main source of damage is, and then give myself the options so that I can be a little bit more nimble in terms of my upgrades, rather than just try to, like, basically wait to find my enemy and then suddenly figure out how I want to handle them. So, again, I'm not 100% sure as to whether or not this is the best thing for me to keep moving forward with, but I'm also not going to get better if I constantly reload to optimal play conditions. So, we're going to see how far we can get in terms of eating the enemy's lunch with a reduced army.
Happiness event in colony. Empire task completed.
Well, that was nice of him not to not to attack our home base. Terraforming cycle completed. Stay attentive for future test announcements. So, assuming these are enemy units. Well, okay, obviously they're enemy units. I mean, syndicate units. And it's not exactly the best thing in the world for, for me to be running single file into the area. But again, I do want to try and get a little bit of momentum in terms of being able to take... Even if I can just get another territory off of them and they're able to reconstitute their army, this obviously will be generating resources for me by the time that they're able to retake it. Criminals are stealing our essence. Most alarming, they steal our seed pods. Many a friend has died. So sad. Always the same. Their innards poured out to harvest our precious seeds for their terrible appetite.
Operations available for priming.
Every time I see that colonizer, I just get a little
Production
more
ready.
angry with my ally. Okay, we're ready for the Huntress. Obviously, we're going to do that before any of the infrastructure upgrades. I am kind of hoping, like, this isn't even assuming, this is just pure hope that my... Wait, did I really lose a Biomancer? At this point, I'm just really hoping that Marauders don't eat these individual units on their way in. Oh, this is even more upsetting. Where were you during my fights? Didn't actually want that to be a fight. Oh, wow. So this is just going to be one big sector. Damn. Okay. I would have treated that a little differently. Kind of got to give the Marauder a wide berth.
Of course, our military-grade corrosive chemicals will eat away your hand if you touch it, regardless of whether you're innocent or nefarious. It's a weapon. The innocent don't play with weapons. Slap another warning label on it and ship it. Sheila Kilgraves, CEO, Alchemicorp.
So, now I actually need to think about my upgrades again. So, for 6 turns, I can try and go for Viscous Strain. The slow is actually not a bad... So it's not bad in 2 senses. Number 1, I've obviously struggled a little bit with some of the more rapidly moving units. So being able to apply slow will help me out there. The second big one for me is, so being able to apply Immobilize also is nice. 20% damage obviously is a huge boon. I think the thing that's really neat about this though is that it's quite likely that because we're going to be focusing down on a single target, this is like really going to add up and a lot sooner than I think it will. Then there's the Harrier commune. This is actually a really hard one. Because technically I don't have any Harrier... Wait a minute. Where are my Shrikes? This might actually be the replacement unit. No, sorry. It's a default unit. What am I saying? Yeah, so what use do I have for these right now? Laser Bombardment's not bad, but I've kind of already got my army planned for the next little while, especially given how much Cosmite I don't have. So either I need to start thinking about laser mods, or... No, I think I'm going to do the specialized strains. Cerebral Strain, plus 10% damage against non-mindless units, definitely not bad. And the ability to apply catatonic, but if I'm going up against the Syndicate, it is very unlikely that I'm going to be able to actually take advantage of that. So let's keep going down the biochemical path because that's most of what I have. And then I'm going to have to start making some more serious choices soon, I think.
Breakthroughs in gravitic containment and inertial dampening systems, intended to facilitate increased cosmite production, prove to have serendipitous applications in mass transit systems across a variety of terrains, allowing for more efficient transport across colonies where this technology is deployed. Dr. Aksanik, Chief Researcher, MagTech Inc.
Okay, next turn's going to be a tricky one, because it's really... So we're doing okay in terms of healing up the units. Not perfect, but especially given the fact that we have a couple Biomancers in reserve, I should be able to get those guys up to speed. Alternatively...
Operations available for priming.
Yeah, we're not quite ready for that. The question is really what the defenses of this sector are going to look like. And again, I'm kind of making an assumption here that this Marauder is not going to do anything too terrifying. Or again, actually not even assuming. I'm hoping that they don't do anything too terrifying. Speaking of, now would not be a bad time for me to invest in operational effectiveness. I can't remember what... Right, we've already got energy and science, so there's no... I mean, at some point I'd like to do industry, but I gotta be realistic about what I can accomplish on a given turn. Ah, yes, river exploitation would not be bad either. Especially because it's... No, that is a road. That's not a river. River does not help me at all here, actually, so... I think operation effectiveness, then we'll consider a covert infiltration. Especially because I think we have diplomatic relations with Berhane now. We do, which means in theory I should be able to steal her maps. Anyway, let's see what we're up against. Well, okay. Clearly, I can't have that.
Operations available for priming.
So I'll admit, it was weird to me that it wasn't actually making a move on the base, but I guess now we have the answer. I'm gonna guess I'm gonna lose units if I let the AI handle this, but no, okay. So we lose a little bit of tempo in terms of pursuing the enemy city, but we do remove a threat otherwise. And again, I realize this is incredibly cheesy, but I've since lost any sense of shame. How badly do I want Cosmite? Very. This can't be all Syndicate. If it is, that's terrifying. My friend Mahina Wateka, I have a trade offer for you. I would like to propose a treaty. Let us open our borders towards each other. This would greatly improve our mobility. It would mean a lot to me if we could come to an agreement. I should actually maybe see. So I don't think most of them are going to accept anything but the most. Oh, we do have defense. Proposed deal is fine. I'll gladly accept this treaty. Okay. I thought I needed to do story events to... Autonom, local being, Mahina Wateka, emotional being, humanoid media rife with references to love beyond simple biological mating. Queries? What is love? What is compassion? Help Autonom understand. Current database limited. Teach Autonom to love? YN. Yes, unfortunately... Well... Yeah, giving up social research for that project isn't the end of the world.
Operations available for priming.
I'm gonna have to reorganize the armies a little bit to incorporate the new biomancers, but for the time being, I think the thing is that I built that biomancer with sort of augmenting an existing army in mind rather than
Production ready.
rather than like it's not an ideal format right now. Good God. Like, I'm happy I've got a strong ally, but this means that they don't even have an army that they're sending after the primary target. And now we know why we couldn't build a city here. Well, we've always known why I couldn't build a city here. Now we know why I can't build a city here, and we know that's never going to change unless we get rid of the Dvar. Alright, personality trait of Yuri is discovered. We have discovered a personality trait of Yuri. Xenophile. Likes dealing with players that incorporate different ethnic backgrounds in their empire, and is more likely to welcome them into their empire while coming to the aid of settlements. Likes players that help out settlements, and players that have good relations with NPC factions. Sounds like us. Again, I'm a little nervous that some of these red squares that I see are enemy units. Yes, but not quite as strong as I thought they were going to be. Of course, the big question here is how long am I willing to wait to bring the reinforcements in, and when do I want to try and take them out on their own? Colonizer is nothing. Yeah, so this stack is pretty anemic. The Subjugator is going to be a problem. Well, the Subjugator may be a problem, depending on how foolish I get. So I think it may actually be that I should go early against them here. I'm also curious if it says how many settlements a... Well, we'll find out, I suppose, whether or not this is the... It's definitely their HQ. Oh yeah, so this is just it. If I take out the HQ and their main character, it doesn't matter if there are remaining areas. What the hell? My accountant tells me this trade is in... Oh, sorry, it's for Cosmite. Yes.
Operations available for Prime.
I thought they were just asking for the energy straight up. I'm like, what possible reason do they have to be crying poverty right now?
Incoming communication.
We're at a stalemate. Neither of us will prevail here. End this war while we both have legs to stand on. Negotiate a truce with this commander to improve relations. I don't really see any advantage to stopping that war. I didn't want the war, but now that we are in the war, I don't actually see an advantage to ending it. Okay, so they're getting a little bit better. My ally did something. I'm so proud of them. Unfortunately, this is kind of smart on their part to put a unit in here because it suddenly makes it that much more difficult to surround their city. But aha. Probably should have saved before, but I'll be honest about it. So I can't really see a situation in which I will want to keep the automate, but let's see what happens. I mean, the real question is how badly do I want the win there? These are two really high quality archer units that I just lost. This guy maybe I'd be more willing to give up. Let's see if we can do better. Ugh. I didn't think I was gonna be... yeah, this is annoying. I didn't think I was going to be fighting into the city tile. I thought because I was going after another... like one of the outside units, I could get away with it. Now, one way that I think I'm going to be able to reduce my casualties here is to focus a lot on the... so they've got these like melee units that they're putting behind high cover. The big problem with being the aggressor in these cases is that you actually need to make your move, otherwise you get penalized. So the nice thing here is that I'm still going to be able to, make my move. I'm still going to be able to clear out some of the riffraff. But if they're going to be doing... So maybe here's what I can use as an example. Actually, this is going to be a little harder than I thought, but... Ah, okay. So it turns out this is going to get a little exciting because this thing is going to be able to... this thing's going to be able to do some damage to me. So, next question is, what do I want to do with my melee character? Again, it would be nice if I can take an approach... Actually, you know what? So we've got this big walking cover. trying something a little different this time, which is to go on sort of the far ends. But that's basically because they're sort of weak there, and then that just lets us roll around and take out the people on the Overwatch in the middle. Also, obviously, this is a really weak weak part of my army, so... okay... Cover doesn't really mean anything against melee units like this, but... Alright, I kind of wish that was... I was informed of that earlier, but... I'll take it like a man. But yeah, I think I've settled in on an approach here, so I'm going to... as much as possible, focus on sort of the flanks, and ideally, you know, given the fact that we still have the city to claim, minimize the number of casualties. But I'm also not, like, I'm not going to be too precious about... Ah, I thought that was a snapshot, but scan will work. I'm also not going to be too precious about my units, if it comes down to it. I'm trying to debate on which scan I want to do. I think we're going to... Yeah, again, I should have done this at the start. So priority number 1, scan these guys. Priority number 2, scan the golems. And then number 3 is going to be to scan the enforcers. Wasn't expecting that. Alright, that was a pretty decent little shot because I'm only ever able... Like, I need my full action for the Venom Sniper. Alright, immobilizing that unit makes me sad. So I gotta be careful with these guys, but again, I've got probably more than a... I've probably got more biomancers than I really need right now, so... As long as I don't get too reckless, I think we should be able to weather the worst of it. Part of the thing is, now that I've got a lot of the soul burn, you know, buffs, being able to withstand attacks is a much higher priority than it used to be. I think it's probably better I get rid of recharge bro more than anything. I got nothing I can do. Well, I got a war cry. I kind of wanted to do some sort of healing, but... Or not heal, I wanted to do something, well, heal this unit, but... I think this is an acceptable... God damn it!
Enemy down.
I think it's a decent second best. Again, I know they're gonna get away with murder, so I think at this point let's take out the commander first. And again, partly just due to fear of it's partly just due to fear of regeneration. I really thought I was going to be able to attack that guy. All right. Apparently we were feeling very good about things. So I suppose the question here is, how badly do I want to involve this person in the fights? I think in this case we'll pull her back. I bet if I did mend, I wouldn't have had to... Okay. Seeing as I can't do mend now, can make them sleep for 2 turns. You know what, that seems to be the best option right now. It does kind of eliminate... Actually, again, I don't think the Vanguard has a... I don't think the Vanguard has an Overwatch. It's mostly just about kind of clearing out this area here. So this unit's probably going to be able to cause a little bit of pain. Actually, more than a little bit of pain, it looks like. But I am basically going to be able to get some time to get my people in position to wipe out this this part of the map. And this in particular is nice because I've got 2 turns where I don't need to worry about this crowd control unit. Now I get to pick... You know what? I think I'm gonna get both of these guys to gunk shot. And this is less about actually taking the guy out and more about inflicting blind. Now, there is the rather awkward business of dealing with this Overwatch. Okay, can't scan it, so we will goop him. They still have Overwatch, so now... Yeah, I think we'll just go for the physical attack.
Enemy annihilated.
So that basically, what that should do is that should free everybody else up to go nuts. I'm less worried about this guy doing damage and more wanting them to provide cover for the rest of my team. But I have a better shot with these guys. So. I'm wondering whether or not... Yeah, let's just go for the damage. I don't need to worry about... I don't need to worry about its range if the thing is dead. So I suppose the last question would be, do I want to use any of my special healing abilities right now? I'm going to say no. It does put this character at some risk. But some risk doesn't look like they're going to get taken out. I'm reasonably happy with that. I didn't really think that that sniper would get would take the one move and then get their hit. The thing about the snipers is if you can make it so that they have to move more than 1 hex, you're that's the best. That's kind of the best case, because then they have to do a snapshot. But if they're gonna waste their shot on sort of my ad unit, I think I can live with the consequences. So these guys are actually a little bit stronger here than I previously appreciated. I'm gonna need to make some hard choices about how I want to deal with this. I think I'm gonna close some distance, and I honestly at this point I think I'm gonna be more about just removing pieces from the board.
Enemy destroyed.
Even if it means missing some nice opportunities to do some, sort of disrupt the enemy in some spots that might be inconvenient for them. Oh, this is a tough call. I should probably
Enemy
figure
destroyed.
out what I'm doing with this sniper. If I'm going to be... Actually, you know what? There we go. That's the answer to the sniper. Unfortunately, I do think that... Yeah, I'm not able to get anything done. Alright, here's my answer to the snipe. Oh, damn it. I should have been paying attention. So I was going to try and blind it, but unfortunately, I already used that blind. This is not going to accomplish anything, but I suppose, yeah. The big question is, like, at some point I need to use this unit, right? It might have been a little smarter for me to try and take that unit and take out this one, but I think in this case I'll let my Biomancer do the honors there.
Enemy killed.
So again, unfortunately I don't have a good answer for dealing with the Guild Assassin. Fortunately, they're not able to take out a unit on their own. So now it's a question of how am I going to deal with the remaining bad guys. I don't have a good answer for that yet. Now I do. Okay, so I need to hold this unit back because I might be able to clear out the Enforcer over here. So it seems to me I move this guy up one so that we can... Yeah.
Enemy destroyed.
So even if we could afford to miss a couple of times before doing that. And then here, we're already in cover, so...
Enemy down.
Not that I needed to worry about the cover, it turns out. And then I get these guys for free, so we'll move... Oh, you know what? I think I just blocked my Lancer. But we should still be able to... Okay, it's not ideal, but I think it still does the trick. So it might have been a little bit better for me to move in, like, to go rushing across the map so that we could get into melee range over here. Also, I don't believe these guys have done a cerebral override yet, so if they really want to wreck my my day, they do that on one of these two. But I've made my choices. Okay, so it looks like they decided not to do that, but they may take out my main, like my leader.
Our leader shall return.
We do get them back at the end of the fight, though. Which is more than I can say for their leader.
Enemy annihilated.
So at this point I'm not going to invest anything on them because they're going to be able to escape, whereas here I get an overwatch.
Enemy eliminated.
So in ideal world I'll be able to take them out, but I'm not going to hold my breath.
Enemy annihilated.
Okay. This hero is not as useful as I would like them to be. So I suppose the remaining question is how many units do I dedicate towards the colonizer? How many this unit can still do damage, so I need to get rid of them at some point, but I also don't want to get too deranged on taking it out right away. And so far we haven't lost any units. We have gotten some heavy damage, which may keep me from being as effective in taking the city. But then I've also reserved a whole bunch of tactical operations to be able to sort of do the final push. I did not realize those guys were swarm I mean, it makes sense, they're a Kirko unit, but I didn't even think that they would be. So I suppose if the AI acknowledges that the end is here, they should probably try and take out Calliope. So we'll start with the hero. It's mostly just to deal with the escape module.
Enemy down.
And they are going to make me chase down the colonist unit, so. Oh, okay. Thought we had slightly better range than that, but... I suppose this is the point where they get really cheeky and use some kind of tactical operation on me to make me really regret saving that guy for last. I should also be taking a minute here and seeing if I have any leftover healing. This is like the original XCOM. It doesn't want to lose, so it's going to make you chase it around the map.
Is ours.
So again, we didn't lose any units off of that, which is nice. We are kind of banged up though. So we'll see what TAC Ops in the auto combat gives us. Nothing lost. Famito Abbas. Gah, why am I always a stickler for contracts? The highest bidder has only led me to ruin. Mahina, you wretch, do what you wish. Cool. All right. It took me a little bit more effort than I was hoping, but we got it, and we're not in that bad of a position, all told. So obviously, I have dubious allies as far as the, as far as access to the continent is concerned. But I mean, in the grand, so like looking at the position I find myself in right now, we've come up from the deficit that we had earlier, in the sense that so my allies got 3 colonies. I've got 3 colonies now. Admittedly, they're ones that I took from the Syndicate, and I'm not going to be able to generate, or I'm not going to be able to use my Amazon units out of them, build my Amazon units out of them, but I have them. We've got Penultimate Resting Tomb Alpha. If I want, I should be able to take out Goliath extractions reasonably quickly. It would be nice for me to clear out some of these buildings here. That might be a project that I can do while I'm rebuilding my armies. But like overall, like this is some fairly nice territory that I've just taken. And of course I have the terraforming option if I'm so inclined. So that's nice. There is a big question in terms of, we have to defeat Berhane. Presumably she is the strongest, strongest army that we're up against. Getting Sappho's agent would be nice. Being able to get the Kirko and the Devar on side might be an idea, especially given the fact that I'm up against an enemy where I really don't know what they're up to. And then, of course, I've got these side quests and whatnot, so there's a lot for me to do. I suppose the big question is, how am I going to manage it all? But that'll be a question for next week, obviously. Let's get some upgrades, though. So, the Venom Sniper. So, I guess the biggest thing on this character is I want to try and make them more effective when they have to move. So, like, rapid movements is useless to me here, because if I move them, then I'm not able to take any shots. Steady aim is pretty much so yeah, the cover bonus would be, well, yeah, this is the thing though. I want infantry commander is my first priority, so I suppose that answers that. Now this hero, I have a better idea of what I want for this hero, so spore feeding. The hero surrounds their army with spores that feed on their units' kills to regenerate their hit points. Biological and cyborg units in the hero's army regain 15 health when they kill a biological or cyborg unit within 3 hexes of them. That's pretty good, and I like it more than... So like visual acuity is useless to a melee hero. I could give him a little bit of extra vitality, but the ability for my army to heal, even if they're not necessarily melee oriented, is a pretty big deal. Now they're not the commander right now, so this is going to be useless. But they're not going to be like a lieutenant forever. This is just while I rebuild my armies. Now, Calliope is a Promethean, so big flamethrower. If I can, if I can close the distance faster, that would be good. Infantry commander is kind of the first thing all my commanders need, though, so no point in getting complicated. All right, the Great Migration continues. I think at this point I'll just stick everybody in the same stack and we'll redistribute accordingly. I suppose the question for Mahina is, where do I want to move you? So they are they're pretty strong, actually. If I'm going to take them out, I should probably move the whole army. And then come to think of it, I'm going to want to move the whole army anyway. Yeah, so I mean, I can go for Goliath extractors, but given the fact that I've got a quest and I can clear out some of my other buildings, it's probably better I just move the whole army. I think we're just going to move the whole army. We'll take these guys out. We'll clear out basically our newfound territory. Then I will consider dealing with this, but again, it's a bit of a lower priority. And I do at some point need to find a place to make a colony. So I was originally considering building a colony on this continent, but given the fact that this is close to Berhane's territory, I might actually just be setting myself up for a... I might just kind of be prepping the new colony for her. So we'll see. I'm going to take a little bit of a risk with my unit in this area over here. Not too drastically. I don't think it's actually going to show anything that I really need, because it looks like... So it looks like this is going to be Autonom or Growth over here. Can't build here, plus there's Marauders. Can't build here because this is beside my own colony. I think it's kind of a fool's errand, but it is a little bit more credible as a destination than this area right now. All right. I really should be thinking about how I can incorporate these syndicate units into my army. But for the time being, let's focus more on my ability to... what am I doing? Let's focus a little bit more on my ability to produce goods and services. I will do at least one military infrastructure. So I'm not going to do energy efficient assembly line here just because I don't think I'm going to build as many units. And then military investment's kind of been my higher priority lately.
Production ready.
Speaking of, the Cosmite's a bit of a higher priority for me right now. It's all well and good that I've got the sort of the rebuilt military, and then obviously I'm sitting on a huge energy surplus right now, so I really should use this to field larger armies. But not the right call right now because, again, it's all syndicate units. Well, I don't have anything else, though, so let's do military infrastructure first.
Opponent has been defeated.
All right. I can live with that. 10 turns to get morale bonuses against Berhane. Or rather, morale bonuses in general, which I can translate into advantages against Berhane. Again, my ally's got a fairly strong military. I think the thing that I should be most worried about right now is the fact that for all the strength my ally has, they have no real indication of where the enemy is. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do for the next few turns. I'm gonna save it here. No point in making this a longer goodbye than it needs to be. And I apologize. I mean, in another another time, I probably would have said, okay, so it was a little uneven at the start, so I'd go a little bit later. But I've been trying to get a little bit more disciplined in terms of going to bed at a certain time, and oh my goodness, it looks like I missed out on a bunch of stuff that Winter's Bane said, so I apologize for that. I've beaten the Shakarn campaign. According to most players, it's the hardest campaign, and undo button would be... Well, you don't like... Okay, yeah, sorry, I did see some of this. I noticed there wasn't a lot of Twitch activity after a little bit of a jump, but it looks like I missed out on one of the messages, so sorry about that, guys. Thank you for those of you who are still sticking around. Anyways, at another time, I'd probably be trying to make up for maybe being a little less with it at the start. But one, I've been trying to be a little more disciplined with bedtime, but also to preserve my reading time, which I encourage you guys to do if you can. I've tried to make it so that I have a loose hour. So it's a little bit like my stream times. Like sometimes I wind up only being half an hour because I'm slow to start in the morning. That I reserve for like a magazine stuff. So something that's a little bit lighter. But I've been trying before bed, instead of doing what I normally do, which is stuff on my screen, I've actually been trying to take an hour to properly read a textbook, and that has been wonderful. So if you haven't tried it, give yourself the shot. It's not the easiest thing if you're out of the habit, but if you stick with it, one, it gets easier, and number two, there are very few better ways to finish the day. Maybe it's just because I've been reading some really good stuff lately. Anyways, that is why, it's the first time I've ever been really excited for bedtime. Normally it's kind of a question of necessity. But let's review what we're going to be doing next week for Planetfall. So we've got a fairly large bank account with which to finance these armies. So one, I just need to rebuild the armies as I had them before. So that's part number one. Part number two, I don't have all the units that I would necessarily want, but basically because I can field another army, I need to start thinking about what I want. There's definitely a bit of an argument for me to field a more effective sort of aerial group. Whether or not now is the time for that, or maybe I just put some more Arborians in and create a more of a defensive line, I'm not sure. I'll figure that out over time. But definitely looking at this number, I need to have another army. And two, like looking at my heroes, right? So I've got, this should be an army on its own. This should be filled out. And then when we get Dido, that should be another army. So I need at least 2 more full armies. After that, with my existing army, I'll clear out the mission. Again, this is just keeping on good terms. I will augment my existing territories by clearing out the riffraff. And the terraforming, this isn't my highest priority in terms of getting rid of the terraforming, but given that it is a quest, I figure I can get it done. Once we've cleared out the quests on our continent, though, it's pretty much time for me to start doing the main quest. I do want to get Dido first. This is because, again, if I'm sitting on a fairly large energy surplus, this means that I should be making an army, and I should be making an army early. Once that's done, the game's kind of already pointing me towards pointing out the treachery, which means, go to the quest for proved treason. And it works reasonably well for me anyway, because we've got really the only territory we know that our target owns. I'm going to assume that there are more cities sort of in the general area, but if we can bring the Kirko in on it, we have a somewhat strong ally. I can start using that goodwill that I've gotten through influence to direct them towards my opponent. And I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world if I take a couple of turns to just catch my breath, because that'll give my my territories a chance to sort of grow, and I can start annexing a few more sectors. But yeah, so that's roughly where we're going to be by the end. I really hope I save. Yes, I did save. After that, so obviously I still have quite a bit to do with the main campaign. We're probably not going to get that done by the time Star-Lords comes out, so I'll probably wind up doing that campaign first. I'm not 100% sure, but I guess we'll figure out when it's released. It looks really good, so I'd kind of like to give it a shot. It's always nice to play with the new toys. I'm obviously really taking my time to finish out here, so just a recap of what's going to be happening this week. Tomorrow there is another Elder Scrolls episode. We are rapidly making progress on the main quest for Morrowind. Now, there's obviously I believe there were 2 expansion packs for Morrowind, so just finishing that doesn't necessarily mean that the story is done. But for those of you who are waiting for some progress, your time has come for tomorrow's broadcast. On Wednesday, we will be back to more Mass Effect. I've been trying to keep on top of the Galaxy at War material. I'll admit, I'm not sure how far we have to go in the main story. It looks like Miranda Lawson is still a character we haven't incorporated into the group yet, so we're probably still have some way to go on that story. At the moment, those are my Wednesday and Friday games, although with November coming up, and particularly with a couple of games coming out, I would really like to try and get a couple other things on my list knocked off. So I might try and do some more Industries of Titan. I might try and change things up a little bit. And I'm not sure if I want to do that as just doing an extra Thursday cast, or like I did for Baldur's Gate 3, or if we'll just do a small break from Mass Effect. If you have any feelings about that, obviously let me know, but you'll know when I know, I suppose. For those of you that like the YouTube stuff, more Cultist Simulator, that is basically for the foreseeable future every Wednesday at 6 o'clock, so an hour before, ideally, when I would start broadcast. There's another 20-minute episode of the Apostle Obstinate playthrough. I've probably got about 200 minutes of material recorded for that, and I don't even think we're halfway in terms of release. I would like to get those I upload them immediately, but I would like to release them at a little bit of a faster pace. What I've noticed, though, is that I've missed 2 weeks of recording. And so my worry is that if I increase the rate at which I release them, that it's going to turn into what happened with Morrowind, which is if I, for any reason, miss a recording, I'm either going to have to pull an all-nighter to get caught up, or I'm going to miss an entry. And I think it's probably better for me to disappoint people by being slow as opposed to disappoint them by not being there at all. So when I get a little more consistent with my recording, I will, I will start releasing things at a more regular pace. But I need to make sure that I get this YouTube thing down. And then with November coming up, the second Wednesday of November is going to be Dirty Rectangles. I believe I'm going to be presenting at that one. That means that I'm not going to be broadcasting here. Just early warning on that one. And then on the 11th, there is Remembrance Day. The 11th is a Wednesday. Okay. It's actually it is the same day that the Dirty Rectangles will be happening. So November 11th will be, there will be no broadcast, but other than that, I think there should be no other interruptions. All right. Ponce is playing Neo 2. So I know there's not a ton of you around for the end of this. Thank you, everyone. I will say, actually, there were more, a little bit more than I'm used to for Planetfall, which is really nice because I think this is a very good game, and I'm actually a bit disappointed that it doesn't quite seem to have been picked up as much as the earlier Age of Wonders games. Ponce is playing Neo 2. Ponce is really good at the Dark Souls style game, so I highly recommend. I know it's a bit weird going from strategy towards a Souls-like game, but I do strongly encourage you guys to hang out and check out his stuff. He used to be a bigger League of Legends streamer. He's a partnered streamer. He's really great at keeping his cool during games, and so it's one of the reasons why I really like watching him play Neo. He's also just a really nice guy, so hopefully you guys enjoy yourselves. I do notice there is one other person playing Planetfall, so if you are so inclined to checking out more Planetfall, you can feel free to just click the game link below. I don't know the individual, and normally I like hosting other people who are playing the same game, but in this case, I don't always get a chance to host Ponce. So I'm going to shut up. Have a good evening. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out, and I will see some of you tomorrow in chat. Otherwise, I will see the rest of you either for Wednesday's Mass Effect broadcast or in a week when we do more of the campaign.